When I walked in, I told these guys, I said, if I'd known this class was this big, I wouldn't have volunteered for this. So you guys got to be patient with me, bear with me. Has anybody ever been in a class where I've talked to you? Anybody? You got any hospitality majors in here, Emmett? Probably not. Okay, I taught 3 just a couple weeks ago, so. Anyway, I have a lot of fun. As has been mentioned, I am an SUU graduate. I graduated in 2003. I graduated with a degree in finance and economics. So I spent a lot of time in the business building over there. Anybody in here business majors? All right, great. All business majors. I actually met my wife here at SUU. She was a nice gal from Las Vegas, and she just couldn't resist my small town accent, my small town charisma. So she was an art major. She's a right brainer and I'm a left brainer, so we complement each other very well. So currently, I live in the little town of Tropic. Does anybody know where Tropic is? Tropic, hey, that's awesome, okay. Anyway, so Tropic, it's over the mountain. It's about an hour and 15 minutes away from Cedar City. I had a nice little drive to get here today. And Tropic, kind of unique. I'll tell you a quick story about how Tropic got its name, because I tell people I'm from Tropic. I travel a lot of places, and they find out I'm from Tropic, Utah, and they say, oh, that must be near St. George, because, I mean, name like Tropic. I'm like, nah, Tropic's up in the mountains, and we get, a couple feet of snow every year on a normal year. Not this year, but normally we do. And so people say, well, why did they name it Tropic, man? And does anybody in here know where Panguitch is? Panguitch? Okay, anybody here from Panguitch? I might offend you if they're from Panguitch, okay? All right, if you got a friend from Panguitch, you got to tell them the story, because they love it. So anyway, so what happened was when Utah was getting settled, there's a lot of these little towns, they'd send them out, they'd say, go settle this community. And Panguitch was settled about 1860. And they settled it, and the Paiute tribe, they chased them all off, and then they said, get out here, you want to settle here. They came back, they kept coming back to this community because they told them they needed to settle there. But one of the things about Panguitch is it's on the backside of Brian Head, so you got this big mountain that kind of slopes down into Panguitch, and you got a valley there. Panguitch is one of the coldest places in the state, okay? And so you can't even grow a turnip in Panguitch there. So what happened was, after a few years being in Panguitch, they found the Tropic Valley, which is near Bryce Canyon. And like I say, it still has 4 seasons. It's not like St. George. It's not a sun place. But what happened was they went down there and they found fruit, orchards, and things like that. And if you know Mary here, so Dean Pearson, I shouldn't say Dean Pearson, you've got roots in Henryville, right? So Henryville, just right around the corner from Tropic. And you can grow orchards and all kinds of stuff. So what they did is they went back to Panguitch, all the people from down this valley, and they said, they hung a poster up there at the post office, and they said, hey, there's a beautiful valley, beautiful orchards, you can grow tomatoes and anything you want to grow there. And anybody that could read left and went to Tropic. Anybody that didn't say that. If you know somebody from Panguitch, make sure and tell them that story. Okay, as far as, when I think of entrepreneur, when Dean Pearson stopped by and talked to me at Ruby's Inn, and she said, well, I want you to come speak to our entrepreneurial series, I kind of don't really consider myself an entrepreneur. But if you look at the definition of entrepreneur, an entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. So in my mind, I'm always thinking, entrepreneur, that's somebody that starts a business. And the definition is not necessarily what an entrepreneur is. So I guess I can consider myself an entrepreneur. One of the worst things in the world is having to talk about yourself. So I'm a little nervous to do that today. Like I say, I'm small town. I can talk about anything for a long time. It's hard to talk about yourself. One of the things, I guess I'll see if this works. One of the things that you guys ought to do is, anybody in here ever Googled themselves? Who's Googled themselves? Raise your hand. Let's see some hands so I know I'm not alone and not weird. So anyway, I do this from time to time. I'd Google myself, because sometimes you end up with some weird stuff. One time I Googled myself and I found out a guy I made mad a few years ago had actually made a website with my name and wrote bad things about me. I mean, this guy's a weird guy, so you're not going to find that very often. But anyway, so when I Google myself, then this is what shows up. You've got images, Here's some, has this got a laser on it? I don't know if it's got a laser. It does right there. So here's me. You can see I'm losing my hair. Here you can see progressively losing my hair here. Here's a picture of me and the governor. Like I say, I'm on the governor's tourism board, so we spend a little bit of time together. Here's a few news releases, things like that. But here's something fun that showed up recently. Is I'm in the hotel business, so TripAdvisor is a love-hate relationship for hotels. This is kind of funny one that showed up. It says, request for an early check-in was snubbed about twice by Lance Syrett. So anyway, I felt kind of bad. I read that review. I wrote that guy a nice email and told him sorry for not letting him check in early, which I don't remember that guy, but anyway, but it's kind of funny what shows up when you Google yourself. So going back to this little process, and I'll have a point here in just a second. So Google, a few years ago, they come up with intuitive search, right? So you guys are young, you guys are all millennials, most of you. You guys know what intuitive search is. I remember back when I was a junior in high school in Tropic, Bryce Valley High School, go Mustangs, and they brought the internet to us and they set up a little computer lab. I was a junior in high school before I was able to use the internet. And I remember the internet then was a lot different than now. You wouldn't even recognize it. These guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so Google search. So you guys are used to this, but Google hasn't always worked this way. So when you type in Southern Utah University, for example, it comes up with, it kind of prompts you. It says, okay, I think I know what you're searching for, and I'm going to fill the rest out, right? And if you look right here, I kind of thought it was funny when I was looking at this. Number one on the list is tuition, right? Because you guys are all worried about how much it costs to go here, right? So and you can see some of the other stuff. The football team was awesome this year, so football's the next on the list. And but you understand how this Google works. So this applies to me. So like I say, I've done a lot of great things in my life, but I guess my identity can't be separated from what I do. And let me show you an example. So a few years ago, I was Googling myself, seeing if that crazy neighbor had done anything else on his website. And I type in Lance Syrett, and you can see what comes up. It comes up as Lance Syrett Ruby's Inn. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't even have an identity anymore. I'm not Lance Syrett by myself. I'm Lance Syrett Ruby's Inn. Kind of tell you a little bit about Ruby's Inn. Who in here has been to Ruby's Inn? Hands? Okay, so most of you know what I'm talking about. Great. So, Ruby's Inn, let's go ahead and skip over here. So Ruby, his actual name was Reuben. So when we talk about Ruby's Inn, we're talking about Reuben's Inn. So this guy right here, is actually my great-grandfather, okay? So this picture was taken about 101 years ago. Ruby came out there in 1916, and this was the site of his ranch. And just to kind of talk a little bit about my family, so the word Syrett, and the name Syrett actually comes from the UK, and we were doing some family history and genealogy. We found out that it's not actually an English word, it actually goes back to Nordic, and come to find out that my ancestors came into the UK in the 1200s, kind of raped and pillaged and did all that stuff as the Vikings did, and then they stayed put. So that's my legacy right there. Not a bit of royalty, some people do genealogy and they find royalty, not a bit of royalty. But my people, going back to the UK, have always been industrious. And my great-grandfather, like a lot of people in Utah, he was converted to the LDS Church, and they told him, said, hey, get you back to Utah. And that happened in about 1880. And what he was a watchmaker. So he made these very intricate little watches. And I can't even imagine that, as big and awkward as my fingers are, I can barely even tie. They used to make watches. So they sent him out here to Utah, and they said, hey, we don't need people to build watches, but what we do need is people to build mills. So all these little southern Utah towns that are being settled, they said, you need to go down there and help build mills. And he said, that's okay. The gears are a lot bigger, but I think I can pull it off. So anyway, so they sent him to different places like near Torrey, near Bicknell, Kingston, Junction. You guys know any of these towns, these little towns? Okay. And he actually ended up settling in that little town of Pangridge, that town that you can't build a turnip in, or you can't grow a turnip. So anyway, so he went to Panguitch and he was building a mill there. And that's when my great-grandfather, Reuben, was born. And he grew up working in his father's mill. And he hated it. He absolutely hated working in the mill. He grew up on the frontier and he wanted to be a cowboy. And as I say, I don't know if he's got a cowboy hat there on, but I got some pictures where he's got a cowboy hat. So he wanted to be a cowboy. He said, growing up on the frontier, I want to be a rancher. So the opportunity came along that the area near Ruby's Inn, near where Bryce Canyon is today, there was a lot of people coming out to settle, and they were homesteaders. And so what happened was he got a loan from his uncle, and he came out and he homesteaded 160 acres right there just north of Bryce Canyon National Park, where it is now. At the time, it wasn't a national park. So what happened is Ruby, he was there for about 6 weeks, and he was kind of building his little cabin there and his little setup, and you can see the horses and kind of getting ready for spring. And what happened was this guy right here, and this is almost like a staged picture because this is ideal. This guy right here is his cousin, and his cousin lived in Tropic, where I live now, and his cousin came to check on him. And Ruby's Inn's just kind of over this hill, about right over there. And he came over there and he said, "Ruby," he said, "have you seen Bryce's Canyon yet?" And Ruby, like I said, there was no national park. There was nothing. I mean, there was no real tourism. This is 1916. This is World War I era. So nobody was really traveling. So, but like I said, it wasn't a national park. So Ruby said, no, he said, "What is Bryce Canyon?" And he said, "Well, it's just a big hole in the ground, but you ought to go look at it. It's pretty neat." So this guy right here, so this is Todd Sudwig's. So Ruby came in and he brought his wagon and his family, and they came out to this point right here, which is called Sunset Point. Actually, it's this one. Sorry, I'm backwards. This is sunset. This is sunrise over here. Sunset. So he came over there, and he said, "You know, I think people are going to want to come see this." So him and his wife and his kids are sitting there looking at it. They wrote some letters to their friends, and they said, "You got to come see this Bryce's Canyon." And what happened is his friends took him up on it. They come out and see it. You know, they come out. And he took him to that same point. He says, "We're going up here to this point right here. I'm going to show you Bryce's Canyon." And they looked off in there, and they said, "This is one of the most beautiful places we've ever seen in our life." And they spent some time there, and then they come and they said, "Wouldn't it be fun to sleep here tonight?" And he said, "I think it would be fun." So his ranch is just kind of back over here. So we went back to the ranch, got some bedrolls, some food and stuff, and they came and slept there for the night. And that got him thinking. He said, "You know, I think people are going to come and see this one day." Like I say, tourism wasn't much to speak of at the time. So anyway, so he came and he wrote a letter to the state of Utah. Like I say, no email back then, no phones really. So he wrote a letter to the state of Utah, who controlled the land at the time. And he said, "Hey, people are starting to come see this Bryce's Canyon, the Bryce Canyon here." And he said, "I want to serve them as they come in." And they wrote him back and they said, "You bet, do what you got to do." So they gave him an agreement to build what he called the tourist rest. You know, this is a not very creative name, you know, just a tourist rest at the rim of the canyon. So that's what he built, and that's what this little building was. So he built that, and as people started to come see the Bryce Canyon, then he knew it needed to be protected. So he actually wrote a lot of letters to Congress and to the state of Utah saying this land needs to be protected. And what happened is in 1923, the Bryce Canyon was made a national monument. The National Park Service didn't even exist until 1916. So this whole idea of conservation, preservation was still fairly new. There was some national parks that existed prior to that, but they were managed by, I think, the Army Corps of Air and Engineers, if I remember right. But the National Park Service was created in 1916, Bryce Canyon National Park, National Monument 1923, National Park 1928. But the reason I tell that story is, so he was instrumental in helping it become a national park. One of the first things that happened is they came in and they said, "All right, we got the new national parks, and our partner in these national parks is the Union Pacific Railroad, because people from the east, people from the west, they want to come see these national parks." And so the Union Pacific Railroad formed what they call the Utah Parks Company, which the Utah Parks Company, Cedar City is integral in that history, because everybody knows kind of where the Town and Country Inn is over here, the depot, the old train depot. So that was the old train depot. What they would do is they'd bring these visitors from the east and the west, on trains. They'd put them on these buses. They'd take them up Cedar Breaks, Bryce, Zion, North Rim, and then they take them back to Cedar and put them on the train. So what happened was, so we helped make the national park, and they came in and they said, okay, our new partner in these national parks is the Union Pacific Railroad, and they want to build lodges in these national parks, and we want to build a lodge right about here. So they gave him a little tiny bit of money for his trouble, and they said, Ruby, get on out of here. So he felt a little bit defeated. You know, this national park that he'd helped create, first thing that happened was they destroyed his livelihood. So what happened was, Ruby, he was an entrepreneur. He was a guy that was driven. He was a guy that he grew up on the frontier, and he knew what he wanted to do. So what happened was, he went back inside of his ranch. You go back to this slide right here. This is the side of his ranch. This is kind of where he staged, and like I say, he had the tourist residence of the national park. So anyway, so we went back there, and he said, I'm not going to be defeated. And what he did is he went to the new National Park Service, who was just starting to build the infrastructure in Bryce Canyon National Park. And he said, well, where are you going to put the main highway in Bryce Canyon? And they said, well, we've got a lot of different options. They said, what's your thoughts? And he said, well, I've got a ranch right on the edge of the canyon, right on the north. He said, I will give you the property across my ranch if you build the road where it is now. So this is Ruby right here. This is that road I'm talking about. And they said, hey, we can't pass that up. Free land, you know, free road. So anyway, so one of the best business decisions that Ruby ever made was actually to give away a significant portion of his land to the National Park Service to build the road. And this building was the first building there at Ruby's Inn, where Ruby's Inn is now. And then this is talk about family legacy. So this is my great-grandfather Reuben. This is Minnie. It almost sounds like Disney characters, Ruby and Minnie, right? So, and then this right here is where are we looking? Oh, my grandfather. This is my grandfather. This is my aunt. Okay. So anyway, and like I said, this is a great family picture right here. So okay, so that's kind of our origin story. So okay, so Ruby's Inn today has grown to where, as far as a hotel operation, Emmett, you know more about this, is it the second biggest hotel operation in the state, or first biggest? I don't know. So we've got statistics. We're big. And kind of the joke is that as the family grew, the business had to grow. Okay, so I'm fourth generation. Ruby was my great-grandfather. And, you know, there's actually fifth generation kids working here. And we actually had an event where we had to go up and we got an award from the state, and we had some sixth generation kids there. So it was kind of neat. So, neat legacy. But we've got this little, speaking of Disneyland, we've got this little cartoony map that was developed for our website a few years ago. I know that's kind of hard to see, but so Ruby's Inn, this is Highway 63. This is coming in from the north, from Highway 12. And you can see this is Ruby's Inn proper right here in my office. It's about right there. And so Ruby's Inn is 370 rooms here. A few years ago, we actually built some other stuff. Bryce View Lodge, Bryce Canyon Rand. I'll talk a little bit more about those opportunities. To where today, in the whole resort, we have 700 hotel rooms. So for Las Vegas, that might be a little small. For Southern Utah, it's huge. Okay. RV park and campground. We got 3 restaurants. We got retail. We got conference space. SUU, they've done a great job of using our conference space over the years. It's always fun having you guys over there. Horseback rides, ATV tours, rodeo, cowboy dinner show, scenic flights. So this is, so we got a lot going on over there. So going back to this is my Facebook profile. So my wife actually set this up when we were still students at SUU, okay? And I've never changed this photo. And it's kind of this like, you know, if you guys are married or if you have a relationship, sometimes you have these weird jokes that you do that are just weird and only you get them. So, but anyway, so she set this up thinking I would change this photo. And here I am 14 years later and I refuse to change it. So this is me sleeping. This is circa about 2003 here at SUU. So anyway, so I was a 2003 graduate. So is anybody here a senior? Anybody a senior? Okay, all right. Hopefully you guys got your life figured out because I did. So I was thinking, okay, so 2003, the last thing in the world I wanted to do was go back to the family business. Okay, so anybody here involved in family business, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you are, everybody knows family businesses, they're awesome in certain ways, in other ways, they're not awesome. Sometimes family businesses there's a lot of strengths in family businesses. You know, the nice thing about a family business is, just like any business, there's that entrepreneurial spirit. So I look at my father, and I look at my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, and they all have that entrepreneurial spirit, you know, to grow the business, to provide for the family, to provide for their life through us. So the last thing I want to do is go back and get involved. So anyway, so I was thinking, okay, so what am I going to do for a job? Okay? And then I was thinking of grad school. I said, I don't want to go out and get a job, so I want to go to grad school. So I was kind of thinking about that. I'd taken the LSAT. I was going to be one of those scumbag lawyers out there in the world. So, but anyway, so luckily somebody sat me down and talked me out of that. So I was going to go to law school. And then family. You know, I got married while here at SUU, and me and my wife were starting a family. So when you're a senior, when you're kind of looking at these permanent decisions in your life, you're definitely nervous and your head's spinning. So what happened is me and my wife, we decided we were going to take a year off because she was pregnant, and I said, okay, even if I do go to grad school, it's going to be hard financially. We'd accumulated a little bit of debt. And while I was in school here at SUU, then I was helping my brother. They're in the family business. We do a lot of things, hotels and activities and stuff. And when I was growing up, my brother became the manager of the horseback rides, okay? So while I was going to school, I'd go home during the summers and I'd help him with the horseback rides. So my uniform with chaps and a cowboy hat and all that fun stuff, and that's what I wore every day. And so when I graduated from school, I said, okay, I'm going to come back to the business for a year, but I don't want to ride horses anymore. I graduated, I'm a college grad, I'm not going to do that anymore. So anyway, so they came to me and they said, hey, we want you to go into the hotel. The general manager at the time was my Uncle Bob. So he was an institution, he'd been there a long time, and they said, you know, Bob didn't have any kids of his own, kind of a family business. You kind of come up through whatever your dad's doing, they usually hire him. But he didn't, and they said, go help Bob at the hotel, you know, for your year. So I said, that's fine. So I call those the cubicle years. So you guys, when you graduate, don't feel bad if they stick you in a cubicle. So I was in a cubicle for about a year and a half, one of these little tiny cubicles. And I stole this picture online because I didn't take a picture of the cubicle where he was in, but this is a fancy cubicle compared to the cubicle I was sitting in. So anyway, so here I was, graduated, near the top of my class. The Excellence in Scholarship Awards, you guys still do those. I won it as a senior, so I thought that was pretty neat. So anyway, I thought it was big stuff. But the first thing they did is stick me in a cubicle, and they made me the reservation manager. So most of the time, reservation manager, you just answer the phone, answer an email, and dealing with problem customers like that guy that you saw on TripAdvisor. So, but anyway, so here I was, like I say, whirled by the, by the tail, and they stick me in a cubicle. But that was okay, because I said, well, everybody's got to take their licks. So when hold on a second, I got to scroll down here. Okay, so, but I decided, if I'm going to do this, then I need to start at the bottom. And about this time, I had some conversations with people, and my wife, as I mentioned, she was pregnant. And keep in mind, my wife's from Las Vegas, right? So anyway, so we moved to a little town of Tropic, and we're living there, and she comes to me and she says, I know we've got these plans, maybe go to grad school and do some of these things, but she said, I want to raise our family here. If we do all those things, we probably can't come back. So, Las Vegas wife, town of 500, she's the one that decides to throw out the anchor and stay. So I said, okay, great, but I'm not going to sit in the cubicle. So anyway, so I went and I said, okay, what other opportunities are there? And they hired me as director of sales because that guy left. So I got the bigger cubicle. I was excited. So I was sitting there and I had the bigger cubicle for a couple of years. And then what happened is then in 2007 I had the opportunity when my uncle was no longer the general manager to take over. And I was excited, what an exciting opportunity. Kind of worked my way up through the ranks. I washed dishes as a kid, done all those things, horseback tours, all those things. So here I was, general manager. So, Ruby's Inn was an established business. Like I say, in 2007, that would have been our 91st year of business. But, you look at things and you start to get comfortable in your job, and comfort is a bad thing. So, about that time, you know, business was good. 2007, business was real good. So one of the first things that I was involved in was we were able to look at growing the business. You know, as I mentioned, my family, we come back to the business. Other families come back to the business. You got to grow the pie so the pie keeps getting bigger. One of the first things that we did that I was really proud of is we looked at it. We did a SWOT analysis. You guys know SWOT analysis from your business classes. And we looked at it and we said, okay, Ruby's Inn is a good family place. It's for everybody. Everybody kind of feels good about Ruby's. You feel good about the price paid. It's a great place to go. Well, we looked at it and we said, well, where are we weak? And we'd actually build a hotel, this one right over here, in 2000. This was in 99 we built this. And this is more of a budget type place. It's called the Briceview Lodge. Still a comfortable place to stay, but it is good for like a one-night stay. It's kind of a cheaper place. But anyway, so we looked at, we did a SWOT analysis, and we said, what do we need to do to enhance our business so we're relevant for years to come? At the time, so we kind of had a little think tank, little think group, and we decided we wanted to build a more high-end hotel. So we got into it, and one winter I got in there and kind of like Emmett Steve with these studies and stuff that he does, and we said, okay, can we justify this? And of course the bank put a high level of scrutiny on us, and they said, can you justify adding a higher end product to Rise? So we had to do a lot of studies, a lot of statistical analysis, wrote this big old report with all the statistics and everything in it. Anyway, the bank looked at it and they loved it. And they said, hey, you know, well, let's write you a check. Let's get started right away. So we started building this in the fall of 2008. And does anybody know what was big about the fall of 2008? Okay, everybody's laughing. Okay, so it was the financial crisis, right? The last major recession that we were in was in 2008. In fact, when this was still studs and they just had plywood, and the bank come over and looked at it, and we were walking around, and they were kind of looking at the progress, and one of them piped up and he said, Lance, he said, you know, if you would have asked for this money a month later, we would have never given it to you, because, you know, like I said, that's 2008, that's a financial crisis, and they weren't loaning a lot of money, so we really lucked out, and anyway, so we were able to get going on this building, and you know, it opened its doors in spring of 2009, and the first year was a little shady because we were still in that financial crisis, but it's been nothing but gangbusters ever since, and that's something I'm really proud of, is developing that hotel. If anybody ever wants to be in the hotel business, it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of money to be made. So, going back to that same process, like I said, we were in growth mode. This was 2008, 2009, 2007 when we were looking at the growth mode. Like I say, 2008 everything was meltdown. But 2007 was gangbusters, and as part of that SWOT analysis, we decided to get back to our roots as well. Which reminds me, I had some books here that I was going to pass around. I have some neat pictures in them. If you guys want to pass those around, you can learn a little bit about Ruby's Inn. So anyway, it's one of the things we have is history, right? It's one of the things. SUU has history. We got history. It's one of our things that we market as our history. So one of the things we looked at was kind of looking back at what made us great. Going back to when my great-grandfather, when he was there, when he was being the entrepreneur, and my grandfather and my father. So we looked at this, and one of the things we were missing was the old Western entertainment. We were guilty of everybody else, once the TV showed up, and once people get cars and things like that, we kind of got rid of the Western entertainment. That was one of the things that made Ruby's Inn great back in the day, and if your grandparents ever traveled to Ruby's Inn, was we had these old 3 cowboys there, and they'd sing at night, and there was a little dance floor there, and people would dance, and that's just kind of what they did back in the day. So anyway, so as part of that same expansion, we decided we wanted to get back to our roots, and we wanted to get back to getting, you know, that Western style entertainment. Some fun facts about Ruby's Inn is about half of everybody that comes to the front door of Ruby's Inn is international. They're not even from the United States, they're from somewhere else. Heavy European, a lot of Asian. So we looked at that, and what we did is we developed Ebenezer's Barn and Grill. Does anybody know where we got the name Ebenezer from? If I had some candy, I'd throw it out.
That's Bryce's first name.
Ebenezer Bryce. Okay, excellent. So we wanted to differentiate ourselves from everybody else. Like, if you drive over there to Tropic or Penguins or anything like that, everybody's Bryce Canyon something. Bryce Canyon Motel, Bryce Canyon, whatever, fill in the blank. So we looked at it and we said, we want to do something different. And nobody had ever done anything with his first name. Ebenezer's kind of a unique name. You know, how many Ebenezer's do you know? So Ebenezer's Barn and Grill, and you can see that that's barn. So in the state of Utah, this is some trivia for you. You can't actually have a barn and grill because of liquor laws, the way that liquor is advertised in the state. So barn and grill, it's a play on words. And this building, if you look on the website, looks like an old barn. So it looks like, hey, we just threw out a bunch of hay bales and stuff. In reality, behind the scenes is state-of-the-art, audio-visual, all that stuff going on in here. But it kind of looks like an old barn that we just threw the hay out of and a whole room down in there. So, but anyway, so that was something I was real proud of that we were able to develop. This is a big venue. You know, this is kind of a ballroom style. You can sit about 450 in here in a banquet style and about 1,200 in a concert style, which we're having Billy Dean. Nobody in here knows who Billy Dean is, but I bet your parents do, in concert on March 17th. So, okay, you know, so Tyler, he mentioned that I'm part of the State Office of Tourism, and this will be my final point, and then I'll open up for questions. But one of the things, the advices I'll give you that has been good for me is you can help change the world by showing up, okay? No matter what business you go into, no matter what you're associated with, there's always going to be something you can belong to. Whether that's a chamber of commerce or an association or you know, government entity. It's one of the things that my mentor, my Uncle Bob, always taught me. He said, if you don't get involved, you can't complain. And if you think about that as far as politics, you know, if you don't vote, you can't complain about the guy who got voted in. If you're not showing up to help, if there's opportunities to change and you don't show up to change those things, then it's your own fault. Going back, I brought in one example, and like I said, I've been involved in everything that my wife lets me be involved in. She finally put the thing out and she said, no more associations unless you get paid for it. But I've been the president of the Hotel and Lodging Association here in Utah quite a few times. Almost with any industry, and I know Wes Curtis over here, he used to be involved in the education as far as lobbying for money and things like that. So right now the legislature's in session. Hotels, we've always got something we're interested in, so we're always lobbying for something. But what I'm trying to say is get involved, help make the decisions. I brought one example. So this is something on the State Office of Tourism. This was about 2013. So we just come off of a campaign. So just give you a little background about the board I'm on. So 2005, they kind of restructured how tourism is promoted in the state of Utah. They put a lot of money into it. There's a board made up of lay people like myself, business leaders in the community that help advise how to spend this money. This board I'm on, it's got some interesting characters. Greg Miller, you guys know who Greg Miller is. He's the CEO of the Jazz. Well, the owner of the Jazz. He's not CEO anymore, but he's on that board with me. A lot of characters. But we just come off of a campaign to promote the state. It was relatively successful. And we said, you know what? We need to refresh our campaign. We need to do something new. One of the things we looked at is we said, okay, the old campaign, it was okay, but it wasn't memorable. And we said, we need to do something memorable, something that will drive people to want to come to Utah. And going back to the idea that if you show up, you get to help make the decisions, I'm going to show you this commercial that we came up with. Hopefully the sound's working on this. Picture that next trip. Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, so like I say, because I was in the room, I said, you know what? What makes Utah unique? You know, there's all kinds of things. You know, you think of the LDS Church, you think of Temple Square, you think of no beer, no good beer, right? And so those things that make Utah unique. But one of the things that really makes Utah unique is that is the national parks, our 5 national parks. As I say, I don't know how many of you know this, but it's really rare to have 5 national parks. Most states are lucky to have 1. So we said, okay, let's come up with something memorable so that we can drive people to the website and drive people to visit the state. Because the old campaign in our state kind of looked like any other state. So we came up with this campaign right here. I want to show it to you.
Picture this, your next trip, Utah, 5 national parks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
First, Zion.
Here I am, I'm like, you guys are
ground rises, the ground drops, the ground becomes water.
Start.
Next, your next trip.
Okay, so
picture this, your next trip, Utah, 5 national parks. First, Zion. You're walking, the ground rises, the ground drops, the ground becomes water. Next, Rice. You're riding a mule. You're riding a mule under giant orange drip castles. You are not dreaming. You will not forget this. On to Capitol Reef. Take the scenic route, the really scenic route. Take a path you've never taken and see the stars for the first time. Now for Canyonlands. You're riding a bike. You're riding a bike on Mars. Now you're riding the rapids. Class 2, Class 3, Class 4, Classic. Arches, 5:32 a.m. Some things are worth racing the sunrise for. The horizon lightens. You round the corner. Whoa. This is Life Elevated. The Mighty 5. 5 iconic parks, 1 epic experience. Plan your trip at visitutah.com.
all right. So anyway, so that moves you. You guys want to go to the national parks, right? As I say, that ad won every major tourism marketing award in the nation for a couple years in a row. Okay. So, like I say, that didn't come out of my head, but I was there to help make the decision. And because I was there to help to make the decision, then the economic impact to southern Utah and to the national parks has been huge since that came out. And one of the things we're finding right now is national park overcrowding and reservation systems because the campaign has been so huge. But the point is, I'm not bragging about that. The point is I showed up, I helped make that decision, and that helped benefit me and my people in our business. I think that's it. I think I've accomplished everything I need to accomplish. Questions? Let's go to questions. Somebody ask me a question. I hate to stand and deliver. Somebody ask me a question. You, right there. Thank you.
Do you guys have like a slight fear of overcrowding national parks?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a great comment because so you probably follow the media like Zion, because Zion's fighting this all the time. And Bryce, again, showing up, being involved in the decisions, is going back 10, 15 years. We're involved in everything the National Park Service does. One of the things we did as a business, I didn't talk about this, I could talk about things all day long, is years ago we were instrumental in helping develop the shuttle system at Bryce Canyon National Park. Bryce Canyon didn't even need a shuttle system, but we were trying to get ahead of the curve and say, okay, what can we do? And the Bryce Canyon shuttle system is kind of fun, and I can talk about Bryce Canyon City too, because that's kind of a unique story. But to make a long story short, the Bryce Canyon shuttle system operates in the black because we help subsidize it as a business and as a city because we see the need to stay ahead of national park overcrowding. So you come up to Bryce, if you're in a busy spot, take a 5-minute walk and you'll be in a slow spot. Bryce is still kind of a gym out there and kind of unspoiled. So did that answer your question okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But we're definitely involved in that. That's definitely a concern of ours, and we're trying to balance that with the needs of business. So. Other questions? You guys are just trying to get out early, please.
So you mentioned that family business, you need to grow it as the family grows.
Sure.
And so, what kinds of things are you thinking about now? And like, how much bigger can you grow? And,
Right,
and how does
right.
it work with all the different people?
So that's a great question. So one of the problems you run into the family business is scale. So we're a 4th generation going on 5th generation. So we've kind of done the math, and we can't grow that fast to have all the 5th generation. So where I had an opportunity, and most of my cousins and siblings had the opportunity to come back to the business and to be a high earner and things like that. It's more selective for the 5th generation, but you have to be more qualified. And I probably wouldn't have got the job I have now if I was 5th generation. But But anyway, so some of the other things we're looking at is, more camping style things, like yurts, things like that. That's our next kind of, expansion that we're looking at. Anyway, I don't know, did that answer your question? Sorry. Okay, Tyler.
So, it was your great-grandfather who
Correct.
So there probably were lots of relatives who, and maybe still are, who think they should be general manager.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
So tell me how that process went.
Well, so, one of the things about, how do I answer this? Nice, I don't want to offend any of my family. Sometimes it's just the drive, it's something that, sometimes people like to make decisions, but they don't like to do the work. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, I don't know, you just kind of bubble to the top. I don't know how to say it. It's just, yeah, we actually, I am the general manager, but we do have a board where other people can be involved in helping decisions and stuff like that. It's not like I'm top down, do this. So.
This is kind of a tourist question, but
Yeah.
so we've been probably 3 or 4 times to your President's Day weekend. Do you guys still do that?
Yeah.
It seems to be getting
Yeah, come up. It's the same President's Day weekend. It's in 2 weeks, and we have our winter festival. Most of the clinics and stuff, you'll say, well, it's a winter festival, and you don't have any snow or anything like that, but about 95% of everything we do is indoors, so you can come up and do it. It's all free. It's on the website, rubysgame.com. Click on Winter Festival. Thanks for that question. Yes, please.
Why did the tourism board in the ad that they made for the Big Five not include ski resorts?
So we've got a ski campaign as well, and then if you go to the visitutah.com Facebook page, you'll see that. I didn't highlight that one, but absolutely there's a ski campaign. It's called Five New Greatest, and it's awesome. It's not quite as memorable as Mighty Five. The problem with ski is you're going again. It's like, what is our strategic advantage with ski in the state, right? It's like, what makes us different than Colorado? And it's hard to kind of make that separation, you know what I'm saying? Because Colorado has like 30 resorts, we got 13. So, we definitely do ski as well, but I didn't show that to you. But look on the page because it's good stuff. We got one with the mailman sitting in the jacuzzi. It's pretty awesome. You guys know who the mailman is? Carl Malone. You guys don't have any. I forget who I'm talking to. Carl Malone. Go Google him. He's awesome. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned breaking into the higher end hotel market.
Yeah, sure.
Going forward, are you thinking like doing more excursions like that, or are you thinking sticking back to your roots?
Yeah, definitely. As I say, it's something. I didn't show a overhead of our property, but Ruby was a real visionary, and where his ranch was, we actually own 2,000 acres right there at the Instant Surprise, so a lot of room to do stuff. And there's some areas that we've talked about, putting some high-end condos and things like that. There's actually, you guys don't know who Billy Casper is either, because I'm old, but Billy Casper used to be a championship golfer, and he actually come in and kind of penciled in a golf course for us years ago, so that was something too. So maybe one day. Other questions? Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you today. I hope you got something you want to have to say. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks.